So, first question is, you mentioned demographics a lot. How are you able to, and if so, how are you able to link that up to TV viewer behavior?
Yeah, so again, sort of just to be clear, the TV data that we have are aggregate level, right? So it's data where we know just that a TV show was on and what time and which which network it was on. And then the search data are individual data, but we aggregate it, right? So for the searchers, we have models that impute demographics, and then sometimes for users who have given us their demographics, we have those as well.
Okay, great. So segueing a little bit into the data side of the house, you have some great data. You've gotten some data from third-party vendors. If you could get any data, this is your dream data that you could have, what would that data be and what would you do with it?
Well, in this particular context, so there are a lot of dream data sets, but in this particular context, I guess I would want to be able to do what I just mentioned at the end, which is run experiments using addressable TV, because that's really the future, and there are a lot of claims about this being the best approach, so being able to target to individual households, but we don't know that yet, right? So we need to actually test the combinations of display and search and TV ads, and we'll be able to do that soon, but that would be like the ideal setting, to be able to run experiments across all these channels and figure out what is really working and for whom.
And I'm guessing we're really, the more we talk to people, the more we hear, but we're really on the cusp of that, right? You've got this black box next to your TV, and it understands kind of your viewer behavior and your viewer history and all of that, and so they can, at some point in the near future, say, this is the household that should get the diapers ad, and the one next door should get, Madden.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. So there are already addressable TV solutions, first of all. So like you can and programmatic solutions, which are which is somewhere in between. So you can target to some households. What doesn't yet exist at scale is the ability to link that data to the digital ad data that you would see, right? So like we'd want to do all of it. So advertise on TV, advertise on regular digital, advertise on sponsored search to the same people. So those three things have to be linked as well.
And how's that link going to actually happen? So that technology, right, so you're creating all of this new data, and now we have these disparate kind of silos of data. How do we link it all together? How do we pull it together? Is it going to be by modeling and saying, okay, we're going to impute the demographics of these people, or is there going to be a way to link the data sets directly?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Probably a lot of you do this as part of your practice in sort of target marketing to people, but there are third parties that can link users if you have some data on them, like a physical address or an email address. And so that's one way, but you're not going to have perfect overlap, obviously. And then I guess another way would be to, for a company just to have all of these solutions. Like, so there are companies that both have cable and internet.
Yep.
Some of them are probably in this room. So like there are ways like within a company to be able to track users already if they want to.
Okay, so given the cost of TV advertising, do you think that looking at TV advertising and, just in terms of ROI, is that the way to drive online search, for example? Or are there other better ways that you can think of to drive online search?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I'm a data person, and I've worked on a lot of projects, not all in marketing and not all in TV. So I come to this from the perspective of like, here's a problem, how do we solve it? Like, I haven't been a marketer for a long time, and I say this because I say, what's the problem? Okay, we have this data, let's try to solve it with the data. And they're like, no, there's this way we've always done it, right? And we care about intent, not search response. What does that even mean, right? Why should I optimize for search response, right? And so I think there are a couple of ways to answer that question. So one, I think marketers have to believe, at least for some products, that they do want to optimize search response. And I think for things that you purchase directly online, it would make sense to do that, right? But there might be cases where you are just trying to build general brand awareness or good feelings, and it's not clear there that you would want to do these. And so there's still work that needs to be done to figure out like when you should combine your objectives and when you should just kind of do things the way they've always been done.
I'm noticing the red that we have
okay.
shining back at us here, but I want to ask one more question.
Okay.
Have you tried to do this real-time response data in other areas, for example, with social conversations and so forth?
So in our tool, we can add additional data. So because we had to keep it short, I just mentioned the search data. So we have clicks already built in, and we're about to build in Twitter. So we haven't done it yet, but in other contexts we have. And then people in the company have already suggested ways that this could be useful outside of TV advertising. So if you have some events that happen, as part of your process, your daily company process that can hurt you, for example, you might want to see what happens when those events happen. So an example from our company is like if Azure were to go down, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens to our customers? So people have already, just in sort of showing them this prototype, thought about ways that it could be used for other event-driven research, right? So what you need is a location tied to the event and a time, and then we can look at pre-post, as long as we can come up with a clever control group.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I think so.
So please join me in thanking Shawndra for coming to talk to us today.
You're good.